People have died after two high-speed trains collided. It happened near the town of Ademuz, where a train heading towards Madrid derailed and hit another on the other side of the tracks. More than 30 passengers are being treated for serious injuries in hospital. Barry Caffrey has the latest.
This was the scene after the collision between the two high-speed trains in southern Spain, which happened shortly before 7 o'clock local time yesterday evening. A train en route from Malaga to Madrid derailed near to the city of Córdoba in Andalucía, crossing onto the other track where it hit an oncoming train.
Avanzar a los primeros coches del tren que aún hay asientos vacíos.
One passenger described the moment of impact as feeling like an earthquake and said survivors had smashed windows to escape. Military personnel were dispatched to help with the rescue effort. Iryo, a private rail company that operated the journey from Malaga, said around 300 passengers were on board the train that first derailed, while the other train, operated by Renfe, had around 100 passengers on board. Though the cause of the crash is not yet known, Spain's Transport Minister Oscar Puente told reporters it was very strange that the derailment had happened on a straight section of track. While rail travel is generally very safe and reliable in Spain, this incident will no doubt bring back memories of a derailment in 2013, when a train left the tracks outside Santiago de Compostela in the northwest of the country. 79 people were killed in what was the worst rail accident in Spain for more than 40 years. King Felipe and Queen Letizia said they were following news of this latest incident with great concern. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez said the government was working with the emergency services to help those affected. Barry Caffrey, BBC News.
Well, let's now go live to Spain, and we're joined by Paco Polit, who is following this story as well. Paco, tell us the latest. Is the rescue operation still underway?
Hello, good morning. Yeah, actually, the rescue services are still working hard at trying to get as much information as possible. But last night, the last time there was an update surrounding the number of deceased people in this accident. So far, we haven't had more news earlier today, on Monday. We expect the first statement to come in the following hours earlier this morning, but the figures are still the same, with 21 pronounced dead, 75 people injured, 24 of them in serious condition. And obviously, the situation in the railway system in the zone of Andalusia still with plenty of issues, and most of the trains being unable to cross on those tracks for the rest of the day.
And there will, of course, be an investigation into what went wrong. I mean, in Spain, you have quite a few high-speed trains, don't you? It's one of the more pioneering countries when it comes to that.
Yeah, not only the number of trains available, but also the speeds that most of them are working at. It's potentially one of the best railway systems in the whole European Union, and it's quite bizarre actually listening to the Minister of Transport, Oscar Puente, as we did a few seconds ago, talking about in his first assessment of the crash. Literally, the quote was that the accident was incredibly strange because the zone of the track was in a straight line. He stated that the tracks were in good shape. They were actually replaced back in May 2025. So the investigation must go further to actually learn the issues which caused the accident.
Paco.
Jumping out of smashed windows, survivors of a crash between two high-speed trains near the Spanish city of Córdoba. At least 39 people lost their lives when the final carriages of a northbound train derailed before being struck by a southbound train at 7:45 p.m. last night. Anna was travelling with her sister, who's being treated in hospital.
I was sat on one side and could feel myself rising, and I thought, that's not normal. I travel a lot by train. That's when I looked at my sister, and it's the last moment I remember before it all went dark. Suddenly, I only heard yelling. Some people were fine, and others were really bad. And we had them in front of us, and you could see them dying. And there was nothing you could do.
Spanish emergency services said at least 150 were injured, with 12 in intensive care. Spain's Prime Minister travelled to the site, where he announced 3 days of national mourning.
Creo que es un día de dolor para toda España, para todo nuestro país.
It's a painful day for Spain, a painful day for the whole country. Our thoughts are with the victims and their families, to whom we want to send our condolences and solidarity.
Queremos enviar nuestro recuerdo, nuestro pensamiento, nuestra solidaridad.
Quite how this happened is still in question. The operator said neither train was speeding, that the train that derailed was built in 2022 and had passed an inspection just 4 days ago. The section of rail where the crash occurred had also recently been upgraded. It was, Spain's transport minister said, strange.
El accidente es tremendamente extraño, es en una recta.
The accident is extremely strange. It happened on a straight stretch of track. All the railway experts who have been here today at the centre and those we have been able to consult are extremely surprised by the accident. Because, as I say, it is strange, very strange. It is very difficult to explain at this point.
Last night's crash happened here in Ademuz, along Spain's high-speed rail link into the capital, Madrid. This morning it emerged that a train drivers' union had been warning the operator of severe wear and tear along the tracks with bumps and potholes, something investigators will no doubt pore over. It's a bitter moment for Spain, which experienced Europe's deadliest rail disaster of the 21st century in 2013. In Galicia, a train travelling nearly twice the speed limit as it turned a corner veered off the tracks, killing 80. Its driver and operator's safety chief were jailed in 2024. In this video posted by a passenger, people travelling in the train whose final coach is derailed calmly gather their things and make their way off, unaware of what exactly has happened. Authorities said most of the casualties occurred in the oncoming southbound train, which was pushed off the tracks and down an embankment. Karima's brother Ahmed was on it and is being treated for a fractured knee.
People died near him, and he told me that a little girl was asking him for help. He couldn't help her because he had a broken knee and couldn't move. She was calling for help. He feels bad for not being able to help.
Andalusia's emergency agency urged surviving passengers to contact their families as authorities scramble to work out exactly what went wrong. Joining me now is the travel expert Simon Calder. Simon, thank you for joining us. This derailed train was relatively new. It had passed an inspection just a few days ago. So what do you think an incident like this could be down to?
There's all kinds of possible causes, but undoubtedly the investigators would be looking at the possibility that there was a broken rail. Of course, everything about high-speed rail in Spain and everywhere else is designed 100% with safety in mind, with all kinds of systems to protect passengers and crew. Something has gone absolutely appallingly, as we've just been seeing in those pictures here, and a dreadful loss of life. But it would be, I suggest, when you're talking about a straight stretch of track, it would be most likely, although most certainly not definite, that a broken rail could be responsible.
We understand that a Spanish train drivers' union warned the rail operator late August of severe wear and tear on high-speed rail tracks. Could this have anything to do with this? What do you make of that letter?
We are way too early to be apportioning blame. Of course, transport safety, whether you're talking about aviation or rail, learns from past tragedies. So everybody will want to understand what is going on here. If there was some kind of negligence involved in keeping the tracks maintained, that is going to be, of course, an appalling scenario. It may be that a set of circumstances occurred that simply nobody had foreseen. It's just too early to say. One thing I'm absolutely keen for people to understand is that this does not mean that high-speed rail is dangerous. Yes, we've had a crash tragically in 2013 in which 79 people died in Spain, but in terms of relative safety compared with the roads in Spain and everywhere else in Europe, in particular in the UK, rail is just so much safer than driving.
Spain's transport minister has said that this is very unusual. He said it was very strange and he wasn't sure what had happened here. Does this raise concerns about safety standards?
I don't think that people need to be concerned about safety standards in Spain, in Britain, anywhere, simply because there are so many professionals who are absolutely committed to ensuring the safety of passengers and crew. Yes, we certainly saw around the turn of the century in the UK a series of crashes which were appalling and took many lives and were many of them down to poor infrastructure. But at this stage, we can just hope that the rescuers' work can proceed and that the investigators will clearly identify the cause, and that will help to improve safety still further in future.
Simon Calder, thank you very much for joining us.
I'll call you back some other Spain's Interior Ministry says at least 39 people have been killed and dozens more injured after the collision of two high-speed trains. The accident happened overnight in the southern region of Andalusia. The trains were carrying around 500 people and many were trapped inside the wreckage. The cause of the accident remains unknown.
The wreckage of Sunday's crash lies strewn across the tracks as the death toll from the country's worst rail disaster in over a decade climbs. A grueling rescue operation continued throughout the night after the high-speed train derailed, colliding with an oncoming service.
What happened was that the long-distance train derailed. The Irio 6189 train, which was traveling between Malaga and Puerto de Atocha. It landed on the adjacent track, where another long-distance train was traveling from Puerto de Atocha to Huelva, and it also derailed. In addition, part of one of the trains fell down a 4-meter embankment.
Around 400 passengers and staff were travelling on the two trains. Survivors described the moment of the collision.
The first thing we noticed was a sudden braking, but we remained in place. We didn't have time to react when, in a fraction of a second, another much stronger impact came, which caused suitcases, clothes and people to be scattered all over the carriage.
We were very lucky because the scene was absolutely terrifying. The overhead lines had fallen, cables were everywhere.
The train was travelling on the Malaga to Madrid line when the accident happened in a remote area of southern Spain. A spokesperson for the Red Cross said this complicated rescue efforts. Spain's transport minister described the incident as extremely strange, and the train's operator confirmed on Monday morning that the derailed vehicle underwent an inspection just days ago.
DW correspondent Nicole Reese is following the story for us from the Spanish capital, Madrid. Nicole, the Spanish transportation minister has called this accident extremely weird. Do we already know more about why it happened?
Extremely weird and also difficult to explain. That were his words. And he also said that this whole accident happened on a straight stretch of this connection, which makes it extremely weird, that the train wasn't that old at all. It's maybe 3 or 4 years old, and that the train tracks there are also always have been under maintenance or have been renewed. So this makes this a tragic accident very strange. What we know so far is what we just heard, that one train going from Malaga to Madrid derailed. The rear part of the carriage actually derailed due to an unknown cause. They then went into the opposite tracks and they were hit by another train there. And then some of the carriages actually apparently fell down an embankment of about 4 meters. It's sort of a secondary crash that happened there. The country at the moment is, when you talk to people here, is in a state of shock and despair because nobody quite understands what happened last night. This is a very frequently used connection between Malaga and Madrid. Many commuters were probably on this train going back to Madrid to work today on a Monday. They've been going back to their villages or cities just for the weekend. Obviously, traffic is now suspended. It will be for a few days or even more time until these train carriages also have been removed from the tracks, until authorities actually have been able to start investigating it as well. So we're all very shocked here, but also in the dark about what actually caused this accident.
The trains have reportedly been fully evacuated now. Nicole, how difficult was the rescue operation?
It was a quite difficult rescue operation, given that these carriages also, some of them fell down this embankment. Obviously, carriages were bent and twisted. The military emergency unit was on the ground also to cut people out of these trains to go there through the metal. In the meantime, also hospitals had stocked up on staff nearby just to make sure that they have enough people to take care of the victims, which there are many. There are more than 100 people currently in hospital, some of them in a severe state, in a life-threatening situation. What we also understand is that the first people who were on site to help were actually locals, just trying to get people out of these carriages, those ones who were approachable, giving food, also drinks. Also the local police went on, and then the emergency unit also obviously was deployed as a matter of necessity in this moment.
Yeah, all hands on deck situation, certainly. Train travel is huge in Spain. Overall, how safe is the rail network there?
Well, the train network here is very safe. You might know the feeling when you sit on a train, you feel comfortable, you feel safe, the train just goes smoothly. Well, there are obviously delays, but other than that, accidents happen less. These kind of big accidents, of course. The last accident that was quite big here in Spain was in 2013, when a train in northern Spain close to Santiago de Compostela derailed due to the driver heading into a curve above the permitted speed limit. So this was a human cause which made this accident happen, and 80 people die back then. Now today we don't know if there's a human error or that if it was a technical issue, what happened on these train tracks. We also understand here that the driver of this train unfortunately has passed away. He would maybe be an important witness for this, but there will be a lot of investigations that the country is trying to sort out and deal with the amount of victims as well who are in hospitals currently receiving treatment.
Yeah. Spain looking for answers in the aftermath of this tragic.
Amazing. This flock's hard at work growing their nest pensions, like this blue tit.
Dave?
Listen to the way they communicate.
Our correspondent Sadia Chowdhury in the newsroom for us there. And Sadia, this has been a developing situation. Earlier this morning, the number of people known to have died was at 21. That then got revised up to 39. We know that at least 100 people were left injured. What's the latest? And have we got any understanding as to how this happened?
Well, that number, the 39 fatalities, is set to rise. Authorities say that the recovery part of this operation has reached the third carriage of one of the trains. And they say that they believe there is an undetermined number of fatalities. They figure that could be high. That's what they've said earlier today. As you say, they had said that most of the deaths they expected to be in the first two carriages of the second train. This is the one that hit the derailed part of the first train. That train was travelling at around 124 miles per hour. Efforts are continuing to recover the bodies of this accident. All survivors have been rescued, authorities say. So 39 fatalities. We know 122 people have been treated for injuries. 11 people remain in intensive care. 12 people remain in intensive care, 11 of them adults and one of them a child. Eyewitnesses spoke about feeling something like an earthquake as the first train derailed. Lots of people were filmed crawling out of the windows using those emergency hammers to smash through the windows, and hundreds of people we know had to be rescued in pitch darkness because this collision happened in a part of the route that is particularly dark, not well lit and difficult to get to. We spoke to some of the survivors. Have a listen to what they said.
Los últimos coches estaban caídos y
the last carriages were overturned. There were lots of people. Everyone was running.
We have to help, don't we? If we don't help with this, what? Imagine if it happened to you or to me. It puts me in a bad mood. We're all from the villages, yes, but they haven't told us anything. I'm willing to take someone, lend a hand, whatever I can. Everyone has done what they can.
And when I got there, I was able to carry a boy on my back from the bottom of the track because this was, I don't know, maybe 500 meters away. And I brought him here on my back. I left him at my house and I'm looking for his mother and a friend of his who was with them to see if I can find them. At least his mother, who doesn't know if he's alive or not.
Well, a centre has been set up to help relatives come and provide DNA samples, and personnel from Dana have also been brought in. They have expertise, specific expertise in helping to identify bodies. We saw them in 2024 during those awful floods in eastern Spain. Well, the derailment and collision is said to have happened around altogether in about 30 seconds, which one of the train operators says was such a short time that it didn't give the driver a chance to activate the security systems. That is according to Renfe, which is one of the operators of one of the trains. We're currently being told that it is difficult to really understand what caused this crash. Officials you heard there earlier saying that it is very strange because it happened on a very straight and flat part of a track that had recently been renovated, and one of the trains was relatively new. In fact, it's being reported that it had one of its latest inspections just 4 days ago. And what we've also heard from the president of one of the train companies is that the speed records are showing that the trains were travelling at a speed lower than that assigned to that section, so certainly within the speed limit. They say it may take a month to know fully what happened, and up until Tuesday, at least this week, all high-speed trains are cancelled.
Sadia, good to have you with us.
It's like the end of an era, you know, but I'm ready. I've had my biker moment.
¿Cómo vas? ¿Estás bien?
You work hard for your money. Now let it work for you.
Ryu Days are here with 20% off. Book now only on Ryu.com.
Help. And obviously we would do our utmost to keep you informed about your loved ones and offer you our support through the different psychology and medical services available. Hopefully we will never ever have to face a situation like this again in Andalusia or any other part of Spain or the world for that matter, because it is a terribly sad and painful event and will leave a mark on us here in Andalusia, I'm sure forever. So on behalf of all of the different levels of government, we would like to thank you for all your support, and I'm sure that together we will do our jobs much faster. Thank you very much, Vice President, Ministers, Lord Mayor, members of the local government, and also I'd like to thank the media for being here today to hear these words and applaud the work of the different services who are doing everything they can do to assist following this terrible accident. Today is a very painful day for all of us. And I would like to express to the victims, the families, the loved ones left behind, our condolences, our solidarity, and offer you the warmest embrace of all of us, which is such a difficult thing to put into words. And we wish the victims of this terrible tragedy a speedy recovery. Any tragedy requires society and its institution to do two things that have already been mentioned: to be unified in our pain and also in our response. I think from the very moment when this tragedy occurred, the government has acted as it should do, in unity, in a coordinated fashion, and with loyalty, as has been alluded to. I'd like to highlight and acknowledge the work of all of the public servants and the emergency services, the medics, from the City Hall right up to national government, and recognize the work that they have done. They've been working well into the night, and I'd like to applaud and acknowledge their professionalism, their humanity, and I think all of this needs to be highlighted in a moment of such pain and tragedy. We empathize with the work that they have been doing and continue to do throughout today. It is true that the Spanish people, like any people, will be asking themselves questions. What has happened? How has it happened? How has it been possible that this tragedy has unfolded? Time and the work done by the specialists and the technicians will bring the answers. And this is another feeling I'd like to convey to the Spanish people, that we will get to the truth, we will find the answers, and as soon as we have those answers and we understand what has caused this tragedy, we will inform you clearly and in full transparency, and we will make that information available through the media to the public. In the meantime, I can guarantee to the victims and to their families that from national government, together in coordination with all other institutions, we will protect you. We will assist you. We will support you in any way you need for as long as you need. And finally, as the Prime Minister of the government, this afternoon we will decree 3 days of official mourning as of midnight tonight through to midnight Thursday. And with my words, I would very much like to convey my recognition of institutional cooperation with the regional government of Andalusia, with the local government, with the people living in the neighboring communities, and all of those living in the area of Alto Guadalquivir, because from the very first moment of the accident, they have been there showing their solidarity and humanity, which is so typical of the people of Andalusia. We will continue to work. We have the Minister for Transport, Oscar Puente, who yesterday gave us the initial information available about the tragedy, and further information would be provided soon to the media. I would also like to say to everyone, please take recourse to official information, reach out to the emergency services, check the information available in the media. This is unfortunately something that happens in the face of a tragedy. Rumors are rife, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of pain and misinformation, and that affects the families of the victims. I'd like again to thank the media for their work and tell the Spanish people, if you wish to access information, please use the sources provided by the administration, by the government, and we will keep you informed down to the latest detail of this tragedy. Thank you.